Americans were promised a secure border, and by numbers, President Trump has delivered a dramatic turnaround. But the next major battle is unfolding inside the country, where sanctuary cities and states are refusing to cooperate with ICE, releasing the worst, dangerous illegal immigrants back into our communities and forcing federal agents into riskier street arrests. Today, I sit down with Border Czar Tom Homan to ask where he stands in terms of enforcement of immigration law, how the administration plans to fight back against sanctuary cities, and what real immigration enforcement looks like under the Trump administration. Director, thanks so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me.
You know, I really am excited to talk to you. I think that we look today at border safety, and the first name that everybody talks about is your leadership under President Trump. I know that Americans were told under this administration we would really work to secure the border and continue to control those numbers that are crossing. And I think they're controlled based on what we're seeing. I think now the real fight really is within the country, with sanctuary cities and with states refusing to cooperate with you and with ICE. In your opinion, is sanctuary cities the biggest obstacle right now that we're facing in immigration enforcement, or is it still the border?
No, look, we got the most secure border in the history of the nation right now, thanks to the work of those men and women wearing that green uniform. I mean, Trump 45 was the most secure border at that time, but we shattered that. Trump 47's most secure border in the history of the nation. So I would say there's two things we're fighting right now. It's the sanctuary cities, which is a big issue, takes away a lot of our efficiencies, and the courts. Look, I think that the court system, you got some radical judges who make decisions in their district they want to instill nationwide, which I think the Supreme Court addressed it, but they're ignoring it. So between sanctuary cities and many of the courts, that's our struggle right now. But we're going to keep overcoming that. We're not going to stop doing what we're doing, and we'll let the court system play out. But sanctuary cities, I know the Department of Justice has filed lawsuits on many of them, but they may slow us down a little bit by taking away our efficiencies of working with the jails, but they're not going to stop us from doing the job.
Well, let's expand on that, because I look at sanctuary cities today and the worst offenders, that's who I really want to get down to. I'm watching New York Democrats today, and they are moving to limit local cooperation with ICE. They're moving to restrict you and ban you and ICE officers from even wearing masks, as I've seen a massive surge in the type of violence that's coming out against ICE officers. What can we do to ensure that ICE can do their jobs, as we're having Democrats in New York, even Boston? I mean, you talked about lawsuits. I'm seeing a lawsuit there where a judge is skeptical of authority. This clash between federal enforcement and local. How can we make sure that we can prevent a Minnesota? Because that's where we don't need to be. But I'm telling you, we're watching this. Democrats are trying to corner this administration to make another flashpoint and an issue in the next sanctuary city. So what can we do to reduce that?
Well, look, a couple of things. First of all, good luck with the law banning masks. Federal law always trumps state and local law. And while threats are up over 8,000%, mask is a non-starter. So good luck with enforcing that. Second thing is, you talk about New York. I met with Governor Hochul a couple months ago, and I told her about what happened in Minnesota, that, we were able to draw some resources out of Minnesota because the local jails cooperated with us. And I told her the same thing, because I knew this legislation was coming. I said, look, you end cooperation with the jails, we're going to have to send more agents to do the job, because now rather than one agent arresting one bad guy in the jail, which is safer for the agent, safer for the alien, safer for the community, of course, you're going to release him. Now we got to send a whole team, 6 or 7 agents to go find him. So it's going to result more agents in the community. Totally briefed on the whole thing, but she decided to go ahead and do it anyways. Well, I made a statement that we're going to send more agents to New York. We have to, as a response to this, to go arrest those public safety threats. I also told her there's going to be 2 things you may not like. Number one, in addition to more agents in your communities, that's going to mean, one, that when we find the bad guy, and we usually do, they may be with others. Others that weren't a criminal target, but they're in the country illegally. Well, guess what? We're going to arrest them too. We're not going to turn a blind eye to illegal immigration, which means there'll be more collateral arrests because of your decision to force this in the community. And second of all, part of her legislation prevents ICE from leasing beds from sheriffs
Mhm.
across the state, which we use a lot of those beds. That means every illegal alien we arrest, we're simply going to fly out of state to New York or Arizona or Florida, one of those states, because we're going to detain them. We're going to arrest them. We're going to detain them. So if you want to lock us out of New York jails for detention, then we'll simply fly them out. And I explained to her, how does that benefit the people you're saying you're trying to protect? How does that protect the immigrant community, moving them away from their family and their attorneys while they go through the immigration proceedings? It doesn't. So look, this is just a political spitball, and you know, they're not going to stop us from doing what we're doing. We're just going to have to do more of it now because of those the legislation that was passed.
But what's the
Her
motivation
notice.
here? Director,
Pardon?
what is the true motivation here? Because you worked for the deporter in chief. You worked under President Obama. Is it because we have a different president and his name is Donald J. Trump? Like, what is the motivation where you're going to get so much pushback for common sense? If the truth is, whether it's Governor Hochul or any other governor in America, their first duty is to protect citizens. Why are you getting so much pushback to remove illegal criminals off of our streets? What's the real motivation for Democrats?
Well, you just said it. They hate Trump more than they care about their communities. They don't want President Trump to get a win. Second reason is we're spoiling their long-term plan. They got a long-term strategy here. Open the border up, release millions of people into the United States to go to sanctuary cities. But remember, when Biden opened the border, he also overturned the Trump census rule, which illegal aliens be counted next census. So they think, send millions of sanctuary cities. The next census is done. It's going to result in more seats in the House for the Democrats. They sold this country's national security out for future political benefit. Plus, they think these millions will be, future Democratic voters. That's why they're
Mm.
putting all the roadblocks up. They're hoping before we can remove too many, another Democratic administration comes in, they award amnesty to millions of people that think they're future Democratic voters. They're having a fit right now because we're removing record numbers of people that they don't want removed because they, like I said, they got a long-term plan. So, but I got a surprise for them. We're going to keep removing people. We're going to keep arresting record numbers because that's what President Trump was elected for. And the reason there's mass deportation operation because there's a mass illegal immigration crisis on the border. So the appropriate law enforcement response to that is a mass deportation program, and that's why we're doing it. They set the stage. We're responding to their incompetence the last 4 years.
So you're saying there's a clear choice today for any sanctuary jurisdiction. You either cooperate with ICE or you're going to put more boots on the ground. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And let me say this, because they like to say sanctuary cities were a welcoming community because we want illegal aliens who are victims and witnesses of a crime to feel safe coming to law enforcement to report those crimes without fear we're working with ICE. That is such a false narrative because we're not looking to talk to the victim witness of crime. We're looking to talk to the person you locked in a jail cell. That's who we want access to. But at the same time, they're the ones that pushing the false narrative about ICE officers separating families, arresting people in churches, arresting people in elementary schools, arresting people in hospitals. They're putting fear in the immigrant community.
Mm-hmm.
If they're honest with them, that ICE has never arrested somebody in a church. We've never arrested somebody in an elementary school. We've never arrested somebody in the hospital. They won't say that because there'll be less fear in the immigrant community. So they're playing both sides. They want to say, well, they're afraid to come report crimes, but the reason they're afraid is because the false narrative you put up against ICE. Let's be clear. If they went to the immigrant community and asked them a simple question, would you rather have ICE operating in the jail? Or would you want ICE in the community? The community is going to say the jail every time.
Right.
So they're lying to the American people. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Hard stop. It isn't about protecting victims and witnesses. It's about protecting criminals. And that's what you're doing.
Well, and I think that as you talk about your focus in jails, and we're seeing sanctuary cities that are unwilling to work with you, our biggest concern today as Americans is we don't want another Minnesota. And you have specifically talked about using smarter and more targeted enforcement approaches and mechanisms. Can you talk about what's different as you're going into these jurisdictions? What can we expect from ICE and from your team in terms of enforcement?
Well, look, we're going to, well, I mean, targeted enforcement officer, that's exactly what we do. It's what we've done for decades. When we leave the office in the morning to do our job, We know who we're looking for because we did our research. We have an immigration file. If they're a criminal, we have a criminal file. We have photographs. We have leads from various databases where we may find them. It's a well-planned operation. We're not going to drive around looking for people different than us. I mean, we got to know who we're looking for. That's the way we've always done it. We can still hit mass deportation numbers because it's smarter enforcement. It's not less enforcement, it's smarter enforcement. And you don't have all these other issues happening. And in sanctuary cities, like I said, when we have to send a whole team out there, Minnesota, the hate got so high that not only do you send a free jobs team of 6 or 7 agents to go arrest somebody, now we got to send another team to protect that team because you don't know what's happening behind you when a couple hundred people start gathering and threaten the officers. So what would have took the work of one agent in a jail, now we got 12, 13 people on the scene. And that causes a lot of chaos. We're going to do well-planned operations. We're not going to have the chaos. We're going to have one chain of command. I mean, Border Patrol working the interior on several of these operations. They have a different chain of command. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've run a lot of big national operations. I've never seen a situation where there wasn't a single chain of command in that city who has control of the operation and who people are reporting to. What's the strategy? What's the operational plan? Who do we report to? What is the targets? What's the priorities? That didn't occur. When I went to Minnesota, I put that in place. And that's why we're going to do these operations because it's safer, it's more cohesive, it's less chaos, and we can stand at every press briefing saying, here's what we tend to do, and here's what we did. We need to be transparent to the American people. We can't lose faith in the American people that we're a professional law enforcement agency and we go out and do these things. There's a well-planned operation we're following.
Well, and didn't you also add body cameras as a level of transparency so that the American people and the agent can be protected? Because there's questions when there's incidents.
I'm a big proponent of body cameras. Body cameras clear all law enforcement officers like 90% of the time. I want to tell the story because when people make these fake stories or people make accusations that ICE, ICE was unprofessional on me, ICE attacked me, ICE assaulted me. Body cameras clear law enforcement officers about 90% of the times. I'm not a proponent. Because again, like I just said, we need to be transparent in the American people. We need to show them what we're doing so they have faith in how we do this job. But one of the reasons I get upset with the DHS being shut down right now, because I was up on the Hill trying to negotiate with the lawmakers, the Democrats, and they kept saying they wanted body cameras. I said, well, there's like $120 million for body cameras in the funding you're holding up.
Right.
So we've already started deploying cameras nationwide, and I want to do it. Pass the budget and give me that $120 million, we can finish the program. But that body cameras, identifiers, it should be identifying every law enforcement officer. And we had that, but Border Patrol has different insignia than ICE. They need to be identified. If they're out there arresting somebody, they clearly know who the officer needs to be. So I agree with the identifiers. We believe in the body cameras. And as far as roving patrols, we don't rove patrol. We do target enforcement operations. So yes, everything we worked for in Minnesota was not only transparent, but we were able to walk out of Minnesota with unprecedented cooperation from almost every jail in the county in some way or fashion. All the county jails in some manner were helping us, some more than others, but that's something we didn't have before. So, and that was a huge win. We went up there, we got the chief of police responding to our 911 calls. We got the sheriff's guarding, taking care of protests that cross the line in our federal buildings. We have jails helping us. We got the state prison system helping us. So we walked out of Minnesota with a win, but you need to, I'll say it over and over again. When we end an operation, the American people need to see exactly what we did. So they said, okay, that was a well-planned professional operation. And I stand by ICE because the data also show we're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats, and data needs to show that. Again, doesn't mean we don't arrest illegal aliens. We do. The split right now is about 60-40, 60% criminal, 40% non-criminal. I like that percentage. I think it's better than 40% criminal and 6% non-criminal. So I think what we're doing right now is good. And I think in the future operations, you're going to see a better plan, a better operation, and be even more transparent to American people. We're doing the right thing.
And look, there's no doubt, I think that you have a plan in place, but what happens when sanctuary jurisdictions like a New York City or Chicago are unwilling to work with your officers and they're put in danger? Are you looking at additional litigation in terms of courts to step in so that you can do your job? Because there's a difference between obstruction and just getting out of the way. And today, many of these sanctuary cities are actually obstructing. So, what's the legal path you can take in addition to putting more boots on the ground, which is more of an operational path?
Well, I can tell you, the Department of Justice is they're pursuing litigation on sanctuary cities. I know they filed many lawsuits. We'll have to see how that plays out. In the meantime, we're going to keep doing our job. And those that impede, I mean, the record number of prosecutions we have for 18 USC 111, which is interference, impediment, so on, assault, we're at record numbers of prosecutions. So in sanctuary cities, we simply got to be prepared for those people. Look, I support protests and protest all you want. You got that constitutional right. But when you cross the line to interference, impediment, assault, and threats, that's a crime. And we're going to prosecute you for it. We'll prosecute you federally. So in future operations, we're going to make sure we have enough boots on the ground to make sure we video circumstances get out of control. So we have evidence of someone impeding, interfering, and prosecute them federally. We won't prosecute them in the sanctuary state. We're not going to prosecute them in the sanctuary county. We're going to prosecute them federally. And we already got a record number of those prosecutions, and we're going to continue. So in operations going forward, you can bet on it. You impede, you interfere, you put hands on an ICE officer, you will be prosecuted federally, and we'll ensure there's resources available on the ground to set those people up for prosecution as soon as possible.
So it really does look like a multi-step plan in terms of immigration enforcement, whether it's sanctuary city or not. As we look at the future, Director, what does success look like to you? How can the American people actually judge what President Trump and this administration have done? Is it less border crossings? Is it higher deportations? Is it more criminal alien arrest? What is success? How do we define that?
I think it's all of it. I mean, President Trump made three promises. You know, when he called me and brought me back, he wanted me to do three things: secure the border, run a mass deportation operation, and find almost 300,000 missing children that the last administration lost track of that were smuggled into the country. We got the most secure border in the history of the nation right now. Numbers went from 12,000 a day to less than 200 a day. The difference is those 200 we got today, no one got released in the United States. So accomplished, but we'll continue building infrastructure off the big, beautiful bill, finish the wall, finish the technology to make that fix permanent. Number two, deportation numbers. We already got record numbers of arrest deportation numbers. We got to continue doing that. We just hired 10,000 more agents. About 7,000 are on the ground now. We got about 3,000 more incoming. So you're going to see more arrests, new deportations. The children, this administration under President Trump's leadership has already found 146,000 of these children. So we're hitting on all cylinders. Promises made, promises kept. I personally think I will feel somewhat satisfied when we can say that every illegal alien criminal has been targeted, arrested, and deported. Number one. But then we talk about the other, 20 million illegal aliens in the country. And a lot of people believe, well, if they've been there for a while, we shouldn't be looking for them, we shouldn't be arresting them. Well, let me say this. People say they're innocent illegal immigrants that came for a better life, and you shouldn't target them. Well, a couple of things. Number one, they cheated. Let's remember, they crossed the border illegally, which is a crime, and they cheated the system. They put themselves in front of millions of people who are taking their tests, doing their background investigation, paying their fees to be part of the greatest nation on earth. You can't be a part of the greatest nation on earth, and the first thing you do is violate our laws. So number one, they broke the law. They cheated the system. They put themselves in front of the line. Let's not forget that. Second of all, if we want to send a message that cross the border illegally, don't worry about it. Get order removed by a judge, don't worry about it. As long as you don't commit another crime and you hide out successfully for 10, 15 years, no one's looking for you. We're not going to arrest you. If that's the message we send to the whole world, they're going to keep coming.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons we have the most secure border in history of the nation right now is because what ICE is doing. ICE has sent a strong message. There's no free ride here anymore. And because of these ICE operations nationwide, A lot of people around the world saying, okay, well, I'm not going to give my life savings to the cartel to come to the United States not to be released at the border. So that's simply, it's working. We got over, DHS reporting over 2 million self-deports. That wasn't an accident. That was a part of the plan. We knew if we surged operations nationwide, it sent a strong message not only around the world they stopped coming, but also sends a message to those illegally in the United States. Leave on your own. Don't be formally deported, which is going to bar you from coming back under any other legal program. Leave and try to come up through a legal program. Because we have to go through the process of locating you, get a formal deportation, a formal removal. There's statutory bars anywhere from 5 to forever that you can ever come back to the United States under any legal program. So all this plan, the strategy is working, and we're going to continue doing it. We had a great first year. We're going to have a better second year, third year, and fourth year.
Well, that's great to hear. And I got to tell you, I'm a legal immigrant and an American today. I came to this country legally, and there's so many people like me that are proud to be American, but that waited in line. And been waiting for a president now for 4 years because we've watched illegals come here and continue to live off of our system, commit crimes, continue violence against women. And it's unacceptable. So, what you're doing through President Trump is critical, not only for our safety and security, but to honor what this great country gives so many immigrants like my family. And I think that's important, that messaging and that continued spirit. The one thing I did notice was the last couple months, I think there was a increase, or I would say a small uptick in terms of cartels crossing the border. Do you think that's just a random event that happened in the last couple months, or do you think that the cartels are once again testing you and the president in terms of whether you have slowed down deportations or that we're not being strong on this?
No, I think the cartels, like they're a multi-billion-dollar business, and that's why President Trump wants to play the away game. That's why he designated them a terrorist organization. He wants to wipe them off face the earth. There's some things happening where I can't discuss here, but uh, look, making billions of dollars a year on smuggling narcotics in the United States, they're just not going to go away. We
Right.
knew when we locked the border down, for instance, they'd be taking maritime, they'd be going to the water. And that's why you see DOD working close with the Coast Guard and Border Patrol maritime operations. Their apprehensions and drug seizures are increasing maritime. We know they do that. But look, right now I can tell you that we went from 12,000 entries a day, crossings a day, to less than 200. I got 200 across 2,000 miles of border. Think
Wow.
about that. And the difference is no one's being released. So no, they're going to keep testing us.
Okay.
But I can tell you this: cartels are hurting right now. They're
Right.
going broke because with a secure border like it is right now, we're hurting their business because they're thinking every way they can to get their product into the United States. We're beating them on the border. We're beating them maritime. So we're going to keep going at it. And I think President Trump designating them terrorist organizations added so much more meat on the bone. And I think
Hmm.
they're smart. It's always smart to play the away game. Get them before they even get here. So there's some things happening right now. I think you're going to see a huge um, impact on drug cartels down the road here. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. The plan's working.
Well, we look forward to seeing it. And as I close, I just want to ask you about National Police Week this week. What's your message to the brave men and women that continue to show up for law, to provide law enforcement to communities, Border Patrol, local agents across America? And then I also want to ask what your message is to those individuals in Democrat cities and states that are obstructing as we look at National Police Week and wrap up.
Now, what I would say is that those on the left that want to attack ICE, and Border Patrol, and are not supportive of law enforcement, show some courage and walk the wall like I did this morning. Look at 25,000 names on the wall. People made the ultimate sacrifice. There's over 300 people from Customs Border Protection on that wall. ICE alone has 49 names on that wall. These are ICE agents and Border Patrol agents who made the ultimate sacrifice. They died trying to protect this country. These are the same people that Chuck Schumer stood on the House floor the other day and says no one respected ICE and Border Patrol. Why don't he grow a backbone and go walk the wall like I did? Why don't he go talk to the surviving spouses and children of these American heroes? Because that's what I do every year. And, it's not only about honoring the 25,000 roughly names on the wall in the sacrifices they made. It's about their families who made that sacrifice too, who's going to live
Right.
the entirety of their life knowing they lost a loved one. But it's also a salute to the men and women who are still carrying that badge and gun today, who know any shift could be their last shift, but they're still out there doing it. I said this morning, it's the finest 1% this country has, because none of them are rich from this job. None of them are making a lot of money, but they put it all on the line for people they'll never meet, people they'll never know, but they're out there doing it to protect them. So God bless them. This is a week we recognize not only the fallen, we recognize the families, we recognize those still doing the job, because it's a special job. It takes a special person to want to do this job. So it's a God bless them to all of them.
Well, you're in that league, director, so God bless you and thank you so much for all your work and your time today.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.